Welcome everyone, it's Victor Dragmar. It's time for some more Raid Shadow Legends. Now, I guess we can beat it with this team, and we're going to do that anyway, because it's a team of rares. And quite honestly, this is probably the last time this team of rares is going to do the job. Because I swear it's just the nature of it. Now, the next rotation is an unequivocal nightmare. I have never beaten the last boss of it for that reason. Even though I have beaten Bommel 3, I have never beaten the last boss, because the last boss requires a very specific team that I have never had the fortune of having. So that is worth noting. Now, cleansing this stuff off is important. Because otherwise, you're in for a bad time. So yes, this is probably the last version I can do with the rares. After that, I'm going to have to do the special cocktail of champs, most likely. Because the boss becomes harder and harder and harder as you go up the tower. And it becomes less and less likely that I can sustain the whole thing with a bundle of rares. It doesn't mean you can't do it free to play, just not with a bundle of rares. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I even have enough keys? Well. So, this is a clan boss team I've made up. This is one of my most recent ones. Basically, it works by protecting the one occult brawler. That's quite literally how it works. Keeping this decreased attack up is, of course, essential. Because every time he tries to poison himself and fail, he still puts poison on the boss. See? See, he's still relatively in danger, though. Especially when the attack whiffs. Now there is ways to get more debuffs on that debuff bar. The problem is, the reason that I favor this version in some avenues is that it provides more protection for the main damage source. The thing is, though, this can be perfected with an unkillable setup. The trouble is, right, when will the champ stop, when will the boss, the game stop trolling me on Maneater? That's the real question. That is the real question. And does Painkeeper help in this setup? I want to know later if I can figure out from Deadwood Jedi what the heck does Painkeeper help with this situation? I need to know. Because then wouldn't it reduce the cooldowns of Demetha and make it so that her block damage is up more often? Because at the moment, that's all I've got. I don't have freaking Maneater because the game was like, no, you will not get Maneater. You have to deal with having Demetha and some other champs like Ursula War Mother, Ursula, like Ursula the Mourner, that's her name. Ursula the Mourner, and some other nonsense with that. Keeping this decreased attack up is going to be important, though. Keeping that up. Getting that decrease attack. I'm doing this on purpose. This is the last night I can blow my keys. Okay, that's a rip in pepperonis. That right there was the one time that had to miss. That was rip. Why? Because at that point, you missed the decrease attack once. Once. You're as good as dead. You had to miss. You have to hit that first time, every time. $27 at 8. I still don't see that adding to. Yeah. So, you may ask, why am I even bothering to do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. There's a reason. Because we need. Okay, so we did that version, right? Now we got to do nether speeder. This is my recipe for the higher nether speeder. Now, the reason that I go for, to me, you can use Maneater in this situation. I want to make that clear. You can, in fact, use Maneater. Like I said, though, I don't have such a creature as a Maneater. And I'm not going to have one for a while to come unless I get enough voids and I get really lucky on those voids. I have to get really lucky to get the Maneater. It is a possibility. When? I don't know. But, yes. This is the first time where I stop using super budget strats. Because I start finding that this is where everything goes to pot. Is around this point. This is where I start using more exotic strategies. Now, the number one rule here is you do not, and I repeat, you don't want to hit the spiderlings. You want to let it burn on the main drags without provoking the spiderlings. Because the second you provoke the spiderlings on the higher difficulty, all heck breaks loose. So the reason I put that block damage is because I don't really have enough cleanse to completely remove all the poisons. And the problem is, if those poisons detonate at the wrong time and you don't have them cleansed. Now the way you can fix that is just have 3 spirit hosts built. I obviously didn't do that. Like, it's either 2 or 3 spirit hosts. And then you have to book them fully so that the amount doesn't go under. So yeah, this will, though, in turn burn all my keys. But the whole thing's about to reset anyway. So might as well do it now. And remember what I said about the poison. You want the burns to accumulate and the poison to go away, because if the poison builds up too much and it detonates it, it makes a poison explosion team. you're going to rest in peace. Unless you have unkillable buff or block damage on your team, which is why I have Demetha here. It's very similar to the Bommel principle, which we'll get to when we get to. But Bommel has an additional mechanic that makes him even more terrifying than the Nether Spider, which we will also be getting to. There we go. 470 down. Floor 80. This is another possible team, although it's less budget. It has damage mitigation, and it has decreased attack. Get rid of that Shazar. Hopefully one day I'll actually get him. Now next rotation I'm going to be doing something very interesting. And I'm actually going to be preparing something for that rotation and showing it to you. We're going to be preparing a bomb strategy for Bommel. Now while this will be useless versus the final Dark Fae, which I have a notorious grudge against because I literally have to make a team that has nothing to do with bombs and is extremely disgusting. Although I might make a bomb-centric team just to break the meta and beat the boss, so I may do that versus Dark Fae. Just to take revenge against Dark Fae. Because Dark Fae has become my most hated boss in the game. Not even Bommel. Dark Fae, the final Dark Fae, we're not talking about the stinking first Dark Fae. The final Dark Fae has become my most hated boss in the game now. The most hated boss. Well, that and then Hydra. Final Dark Fae and Hydra are my most hated bosses in the game. And there's a reason for it. Now, the reason I like to use Drexthar in here is that it keeps this thing constantly roasting. By this point, the boss has gathered a huge, and I mean a massive amount of HP. To not use Drexthar in here is to torture oneself, basically, at this point. Because, yeah. The rosin I remember now is for the resist aura. Rosin is a very juicy resist aura. Ooh, that was unfortunate. Did anyone see that? Those of you who didn't catch that, he missed a turn. The Coffin Smasher missed a turn. That could be the end of the fight in the higher levels. Why? Very simple. The decrease attack must land for this to work. The only way that that you can get away with it even is with basically with Demetha or Maneater. You literally need a decrease attack. And I mean, not a decrease attack, a full team invulnerability to make yourself immune from it. That's how hard this thing hits. The only thing that's worse, like I said, is something where you have to nuke your own team and then fight that boss. It's like, oh. It's gross, man. It's gross. The only boss worse than this as a final Doom Tower boss is the stupid Dark Fae. It is literally like the most annoying boss ever made in Raid. Is the boss after this, which you'll see. You'll see it. I really don't want to show you it, but you'll see it. And I'll be forced to find a way around it. If I have to use bombs to kill it, so be it. So be it. Now, this boss has a number of ways of beating it. But for the sake of speed, I'm going to throw Ninja in there. And because I don't almost ever use him anymore. He's literally become a side note at this point. This is his last use case, pretty much. I don't even use him in Dragon anymore. The Mushroom Man and Occult Brawler have long since replaced him in Dragon. And stinking other and Bellower. He has literally become a side note. He has become less useful and less used than a rare. So yeah, if that helps the people who are envious of having him, I use him less than I use most rares. You can easily do this without him. I just feel like it for speed purposes. And he's probably going to die like a miserable fool. And you still need the Coffin Smasher. Why? Decrease attack. You need the decrease attack. If you do not have the decrease attack, this boss will gut you like a fish at this level. Not even joking. If you don't have this guy on the right, who, by the way, I use more than Ninja now, that should give you an idea of his status. Like, actually, most rares. I use most rares more than I use him. I use Frozen Banshee more than I use him. So yes. This is like his last use. This is the last ode to the fact that I played during the Ninja years. The Ninja era. This is the last indication. Unless they bring him back, this will be some of the last footage you ever get to see of him being used. Other than other content creators. He might not even live, well, he might, because of Syl. Syl is based. Know that while I don't use Ninja much anymore, Syl still goes everywhere. And she still knocks out people And Drexstar still did more damage to it, even though he's a negative affinity. Anyone on the fence now about fusing Drexstar? Anybody at all? Anyone see that? Anybody? Drexstar did more damage. I rest my case. Anybody on the fence about fusing Drexstar better think twice. He's one of the best champs in the game. In his one of his last use cases on the planet, he did less damage than the Drexstar. You guys can still fuse Drexstar. You just have to gather a fragment a day for 100 days. Yeah. Yeah. And I did it twice. And I'll do it a third time if I make another account, which I might very well do for an experimental referral experiment. And also to explore Bard Court temporarily before that account outgrows it. But you know what? I probably won't. I'll probably just leave it clanless until it becomes a monster and then give it a clan. Because to be honest, I'm too competitive for that. Like, what do you mean competitive? Even on, like, off games, I've done a boatload of stuff. So, yeah. I might go back to Genshin again as well. Get some revenge. But there's also a whole bunch of other games I haven't even explored. This is just one of many. I've been gaming much longer than this game has ever existed. This game was not even an egg, and I was already a master, almost. Alright. Wonder how this setup works, if it works better. But you see, that's another strategy. You can just block its damage and then pray for a provoke and then go for that. Because then blocking, because its damage, it doesn't ignore block damage. It just ignores unkillable buffs. So this is one case where Demetha is actually better than Maneater. Because it completely blocks the damage. Aha. So there is a place where Demetha is superior. Oh. And we keep the thing provoked. Because keeping it provoked always is the safest measure. Say. Also, the fact that it's unprovocable is, I'm not provocable, can't decrease its turn meter is annoying. Almighty immunity. Ah. Keep that provoke on. You don't need Black Knight, you just need a very good provoker. Black Knight, though, is one of the best provokers. It's why I use him. I pulled him one time. I didn't want him, but he's still useful for that purpose. That's pretty much all he does for my account, is Magma Dragon. But yeah. There's a bunch of other champs that have what you want to provoke that has no cooldown, that's very consistent. Solus would be good for this purpose. Sentinel, but you need to build him high accuracy. Gnarlhorn. But he doesn't keep himself high health, unfortunately. There's a number of them. Black Knight, though, is one of the better ones because his provoke is extremely consistent. And has a more importantly, has a very low CD. That's the main benefit of Black Knight is the fact that his provoke has a very low CD. So that's why he's so valuable in this fight. That's why. Keep that. Keep the heals going. And then in the next episode, we're going to do the part 3. I'll be lucky to even have enough keys to do this. Come on. If anyone doubted why you want to decrease attack or to provoke this thing before it gets its stuff going, wonder no longer. Because this thing hits hella hard. There you go. That's floor 100 Magma Dragon. And then it'll be the last 2 for the next episode.